Why Ilia Topuria will be a champ in 2024. Ilia Topuria has his next matchup against Alexander Volkanovski for the featherweight title at UFC 298. And although a lot of people think Volk is going to run through Ilia, in my personal opinion, I think Ilia has a real chance to win, and in general, I truly believe that by the end of the year, Ilia Topuria will find himself holding a championship belt. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy MMA. I make opinionated MMA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. But anyways, let's get into it. Ever since joining the UFC, Ilia Topuria has found himself as one of those younger fighters that has been extremely impressive. As when you look at Ilia's resume ever since making it to the UFC, he not only beat guys that are extremely talented and are extremely high ranked, but he also was able to do so in very impressive fashion. As some of his recent victories are Jai Herbert via TKO, and that's when he moved up to 155 for that fight, he also was able to beat Bryce Mitchell in an absolute domination where he found a second round submission, and most recently he was able to beat Josh Emmett via decision. But if you actually watch that fight back, Ilia probably would have finished any other fighter really in the entire division, as he was completely dismantling Josh Emmett, but just due to the fact that Josh has a great chin and due to the fact that Josh was so tough out there, he ended up going to decision. But regardless of that fact, it was a complete domination by Ilia Topuria. So a question that some of you may be having at this point is, why was Ilia able to have so much success in the UFC so far? What does he do well out there? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to a couple different factors, but the first factor I want to touch upon is his overall game. Because when you look at Ilia's game, it's pretty clear that this guy is very good in a lot of different areas. But starting with Ilia's stand-up ability, it's pretty clear that this guy is an extremely talented striker, and this is definitely the best part of his game. As on the feet, Ilia is just an extremely talented boxer. He does a really nice job at throwing out jabs, he does a really nice job at throwing uppercuts, hooks, and crosses, but I would probably say there's a couple things that jump out to me specifically about Ilia's stand-up game. And those things are the amount of speed that he throws his shots with, the amount of power that he throws his shots with, and most importantly, the great combinations that he does throw. Ilia definitely has a nice ability to throw singular shots as well, but I would definitely say the best aspect of his game is his combinations. He throws combinations very effectively, very well timed, and he throws all his punches with great accuracy as well, making his combos extremely effective. Because actually, when you look at Ilia's stand-up game, it's pretty clear that this guy has great boxing, but he doesn't necessarily throw that many kicks. He throws kicks at times, but he's mostly a boxer in terms of his stand-up game. And the fact that he has been able to be as successful as he's been on the feet so far kind of just shows you how effective his combos really are in the UFC. So I definitely think that Ilia Topuria's stand-up ability is definitely one of the better aspects of his game. But moving on to his ground game, this is definitely something that Ilia has done a great job at improving upon ever since he made it to the UFC. But at this point, Ilia definitely has a really nice ability to take the fight to the ground, as he was able to take Bryce Mitchell to the ground and absolutely dismantle him. But once the fight does get to the ground, Ilia also does a really nice job at utilizing position over submission, as he can either finish you with ground and pound strikes by dominating you with top position, or he can methodically find his way to a submission. And I would definitely say that Ilia's wrestling ability and also his jiu-jitsu ability has gotten significantly better at this point as compared to where he was when he originally made it to the UFC. So at this point, I think the real aspect to why Ilia has been so successful in the UFC so far is his overall versatility, alongside with the fact that Ilia performs at such a high level really wherever the fight goes. Because there's a lot of guys that have great versatility, but they're not necessarily great at any aspect. But I think when you look at Ilia's game, it's pretty clear that he's great everywhere you go. And I definitely think that's a very important factor when you're trying to identify a championship fighter. But now, let's look at this specific matchup between Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria, and let's get into why I think Ilia has a real chance to win. Well, obviously, when you look at Volkanovski's game, it's pretty clear that this guy's an extremely talented fighter. He's been one of the better fighters in the entire UFC for some time now. And obviously, that's no mistake. When you look at Volk's game, it's pretty clear that he's very good in a lot of different aspects. Actually, he's great in a lot of different aspects. punches. In terms of his stand-up ability, it's pretty clear that Volk does a lot of different things well. He does a great job at utilizing his jabs, he does a really nice job at utilizing combinations, uppercuts, hooks, crosses. He does a great job at throwing kicks to the legs, kicks to the body, and even at times throwing kicks to the head as well. And really a huge reason for why Volk's stand-up ability is so effective is due to the fact that he throws great combinations similar to Ilia Topuria, but he also does so with a ton of speed. And actually it seems as if after that Korean zombie matchup, Volk is throwing his shots a lot faster than he used to, and he used to throw his shots with a lot of speed as well. So at this point, he's virtually lightning quick. Because at this point, Volk does a phenomenal job at throwing out jabs, uppercuts, hooks, and crosses, and maybe ending the combo with a kick to the legs and getting out quickly before the opponent can counter. And the fact that Volk has so much speed with his punches and even his kicks just makes it very difficult to defend against and just makes it very difficult to counter against. Because even besides the combos and even besides the speed that he does possess, Volk also has tremendous footwork in order to keep himself safe and in order to attack when he needs to. Now besides Volk's stand-up abilities, he definitely does have wrestling ability in terms of offensive wrestling ability. As he showed in his Yair Rodriguez matchup, he was able to take Yair down at will. He also definitely has the ability to stop takedowns, as we have seen it in his Islam Makhachev matchups. And overall, it's pretty clear from top to bottom that Volkanovski is just a very complete fighter. But now, let's look at this specific matchup between Topuria and Volkanovski. So I definitely think this is a very interesting matchup, and it can go in one and two directions. The first direction would be Volkanovski has his way, as Volkanovski would do a really nice job at utilizing his punching ability, the speed that he does throw them with, and the overall speed would give Topuria some issues, and Volkanovski will end up finding a victory via decision. And I could also see it being a relatively dominant decision as well. But the other scenario that I could see this fight going in is Topuria ends up finding a finish. Because as I mentioned before, both of these guys do a really nice job at throwing combinations with a ton of speed. And in this matchup, I definitely think Topuria is going to have his moments, and I definitely think Volkanovski is going to have his moments as well. But the difference between Topuria and Volkanovski is Topuria has that one punch knockout ability, whereas Volkanovski doesn't really have it. So Volk can definitely have a lot of success, he can definitely be landing pretty effectively, but not affect Topuria too badly. So even if Topuria is technically losing on the scorecards in the second, third, fourth, or even fifth round, I could definitely see a scenario where he throws his combination and lands that big seminal shot and potentially puts Volkanovski away. And also we need to consider that Volkanovski is kind of just coming off a knockout loss against Islam Makhachev, where it was a significant knockout and it wasn't all that long ago either. So I definitely do think there is a possibility, and a very real possibility, that Ilia Topuria could potentially win this matchup via TKO. And if Ilia is able to do so, he'll become the featherweight champ over a guy that a lot of people, including myself, saw as unbeatable not too long ago. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening in this matchup between Volkanovski and Topuria, and what ends up happening in the long-term future for Ilia. But I definitely do think Ilia's future is extremely bright going forward, regardless of what happens in this matchup. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Ilia has a real chance to beat and potentially even finish Alexander Volkanovski, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.